and welcome to another conversation with filmmakers here for the Our Pride Film Festival. And now we are joined by Jaime Fidalgo, who has a documentary short streaming and being presented on the festival called Yo Soy, I Am. Jaime, welcome to the conversation.
Thank you, Kenny. Hi, everyone.
Jaime, you are in Mexico right now, and this is was this documentary done in Mexico?
No, it was done in Madrid.
In
It was,
Madrid.
yeah, because I was born in Madrid, raised in Mexico. So I've been like just jumping from there to here like all the time. And that was in my Spain stage, but right now in my Mexican stage.
So for those who haven't seen it, this is it's a documentary short, but with a gentleman by the name of Juan Carlos Parra. And so, not to give anything away, I'm going to just turn it over to you to kind of give us a snapshot of what this is about, but also why this particular story and how you came to find and know Juan Carlos.
What is Yo Soy, I Am? I think it was an experiment slash psychomagic act slash therapy, you know, among the two of us. I came to know him because of a friend, an actress. Like, she introduced me to him. Like, I had seen him in a couple of like small little short films, where he played like just like little like tiny bit characters, and I got enamored, by his face. Since I saw his face, I was like, oh my God, I need to do something with this guy, right? So I got in touch with him, and we started talking, and developed a friendship between us. We were supposed to do a short film that didn't went through because it was about him climbing a mountain and the weather was not okay, a couple of bumps here and there. But in the process of trying to get that other short film made, I get to know him, and he became like like a good friend. He's a very peculiar individual, physically, mentally, spiritually, and he was just a blast of a guy to be around with. He has, this amazing just sense of joy of being in the moment, of of really having a good time. And the craziness started when he started telling me a little bit about his story, right? Because this guy, he's not an actor, he knew an actress friend of mine, but where does this guy come from, right? Like, what does he do? So it was in all those talks, that he gave me like little, like, let's say like breadcrumbs of his situation. He told me that he was a night guard at a plastic factory, like in the outskirts of Madrid, right? And one day, I was like really just eager to shoot something, to do something. And we came with the idea of, hey, why don't me and my roommate, which helped me out with second camera and stuff like that, are like, why don't we go and spend the night with you at your factory and just like tell us about your story, right? And have fun. So that's pretty much what we did. And of course, it was a crazy surprise, right? Because many of the things that he reveals about himself, some I had some idea, some I didn't have any idea at all. So it was just very cathartic, right? And of course, it took shape in the editing process, because there was just shoot, shoot, shoot. And it was so much drama that it was like, okay, let's have fun, dance, like dance, move around, like be this Juan Carlos, right? And yeah, and it came to be Yo Soy.
it it's really compelling to watch. And as I said to you beforehand, I had to go back and watch it again because it is incredibly revealing. His story is, you're listening, and I had to go back. I was like, wait, is this a documentary, or did I is this fiction or is this real? And then I went back and looked. It's like, no, no, no. It is a documentary. It's not meant to, you know, pretend anything, because just how much he revealed and how much, this piece about who he is goes from a very weird sense of joy in isolation
Yeah,
and
yeah,
embracing isolation, because the other side of it was just not worth it to him. And, there's so many little beats that are throughout this documentary that make you stop and think. And I think primarily because coming from, a queer community, I'm thinking about, as gay men, what are those pieces? And that's where some of that isolation comes in. He mentions about, his physicality, and
yeah,
there's such stigma about out there with gay men, like you must look a certain way. And but in throughout all of, even talking about not liking plastics, and but he loves where he works because he gets
yeah,
all of this space for
yeah,
himself.
yeah,
And there's a safety for him in a space that is essentially, in a way, unsafe.
yeah,
um
yeah.
there's a whole lot that's going on in here. I'm surprised that you got it down to the time that you did, because that must have been challenging.
Yeah, the make it a 10-minute short. Yeah, yeah, of course. Like it was because of course, like um this was I think my second like documentary short film. Like I don't do documentaries, like I'm more of a fiction guy. So I didn't really have any sense of idea of how you actually shoot a documentary, right? So it was more about like when we got there, it was just like, okay, so we're just gonna like spend all night, like we went to visit him at, I think we arrived at like 7 p.m. and left at 6 a.m., the next day. And it was just about, okay, we're just gonna talk, show us this, the space around. And when I saw like a few like interesting places to have a conversation, like the bathroom or like the meeting room, I was like, okay, this is a great place to have a conversation, right? But it was, yeah, like there was not really a script, like it was more about him starting to open, like I see it as a like the famous onion thing, right? Like we started the superficial, which is about him and his perspective about the environment, right? But then we go, the second layer in the bathroom is the social aspect, and it's about him in his workspace with his colleagues, right? Or not colleagues. Then we go deeper and we go to the family part, that it's this big reveal, about his past. And then we go to the crazy core, right? That it's about him, So that was the only sense sort of I've kind of had, like about going from wide to small. But yeah, it was a surprise. I actually hadn't watched it in a while, and I just saw it like half an hour ago, before this conversation, and I was like, I'm still impacted, right? Like that last moment, it's interesting. And also like, of course, like um I think the more this is a piece that, like you said, the more you see it, the more things you kind of like, like get. And yeah, like right in this last just watching of it, it was very interesting and also like touching of what you're saying, the whole mask thing, right? Because of course, like he's like you said, like he's not the, yeah, like he's a gay guy, like he may not be the most attractive, like stereotypical guy, but he's like really sure of himself, like he's
he
like,
knows he,
I'm this.
he knows him he knows
Yeah,
himself, and he is not ashamed of himself.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah, yeah,
so many of us can't say that, and so
yeah,
many of us have fortunate things in our lives that we can kind of step back and say, well, yes, I, feel good about this or I feel good about that. He doesn't make any bones about the situation that he is in. And he is
Open
not
book.
calling it a situation. He's actually okay with it. He knows
Yeah.
himself so well. Like I'm it again fascinated by
Yeah.
someone who there's so much charisma
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
this man. And I'm sure being around him and being his friend, you must feel that this he is a big personality that that uses whatever is in front of him to be his space.
He's like I haven't spoken with him in a while. But we tend to speak from time to time. And one thing he's always been, and he keeps on being, he's like a you first kind of guy. Like he's like, yeah, he may not be living like in the best, like a financial situation, this, that, whatever. But he's ever since I met him, it's all about how are you, like how can I help you with, like, do you want to do this film? Yes, I'll do it. Hey, let me pay for the meal, like let me bring a bottle of wine. Like he's like that, like actually I haven't done a short film in a while, but the last piece I made was a week before the pandemic when I was in Madrid, and it was a music video with him and me. Like he's like the actual lead, and it was a music video for a friend and in Toledo that I was like, hey man, my friend, he wants me to make this music video for him. Do you want to be the it, and let's just go you and me to Toledo, and I'll get a dinosaur costume, and like it'll be like a mix between you're a writer, but then you're just dancing like a dinosaur all over the city. And he was like, yeah, man, let's do it. And we did it, so my last piece was also something that came from his like total I'm here for you kind of thing, because there was no pay, there was no nothing. It was just like two friends going crazy in Toledo, having a good time, So
He
yeah,
seems
I jumped to another subject, but yeah, like he's such a great guy.
he seems like again, I think that a lot of the times, and I think what this document like what this short film, this short documentary has done is show a different aspect of things. I find that sometimes maybe as the viewer we expect documentaries to be really heavy
Yeah,
and not, that there's going to be a really hard hitting message. And there is that through this, but I also think what you've done is you've positioned it to show the joy
yeah,
that's very, infectious within this one human who, if gone a different way, could steer into the negative things that has impacted him. But instead, he finds the joy in his space. I love the fact that he's like the showers were like the best place in the whole area that he was working, and he gets the
yeah,
whole factory to himself, and it becomes
yeah,
a dance hall. It becomes where he showers and makes himself beautiful. It becomes where he does his own performances. It's where he thinks. It's where he sleeps. Like he is shows so much joy in a lot of things that so many of us may take for granted or would look
yeah,
at negatively.
yeah, yeah,
And it
totally, totally.
takes a documentary piece into a very different way, like world, and into it. And it's to me, I think it's such a successful piece because it really does leave you uplifted.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And as a filmmaker, you must kind of look back on that and as you already kind of said and be like, wow, we kind of did that. Like this came out of, we thought, oh, we'd go and we would hang out. But what came out of it was so many nuggets of just really inspiring and uplifting kind of messaging through someone's own ability to just see the positive, I guess.
Yeah, no, 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 totally. Like it ends up being like very uplifting, right? And it's all about his, yeah, just like his charisma, like you said, like his joy, like he's not being afraid to present himself to the world as he is, physically, as a gay guy, like as a guy that works in a factory, it's like this is me, and yeah, like yeah, yeah, yeah.
I can't stress it enough to anybody who is watching this that you need to watch this film to understand kind of what it is, because it's really hard to put into words just
Yeah.
how infectious he is. And I think you as a filmmaker, what you've done is how you've pieced it together. It shows a whole journey. And over the course of a night, there are so many stories. There's some heavy, heavy topics
Yeah.
that come up, but never feel like dismal. They are just very matter of fact. He tells you the story of what he's experienced. He's very candid about, things he
No,
likes or
he,
doesn't
he
like.
likes to he likes to yeah, like he's not afraid of telling his story, like that's the impactful stuff, right? Like because it's really some of the things he says, it's crazy hard. And like I said, I didn't know some of the details until he actually until I pressed rec, right? Like in the camera. And yeah, but he's like this open book of amazingness, and yeah, like a really inspiring person,
I
like
feel like he's somebody who, through his just being himself, he's an educator in a way. I think that he makes you stop and think about your own, maybe your own preconceived notions or your own hangups or your own biases about things. You do a lot of up close camera shots on him, and it's we're so used to the pretty and everything looking perfect, and
yeah,
the person who's there has been, photoshopped, or they've got something on,
yeah,
or everything's been pulled and tucked and makeup and whatnot. And this is just one man, and he's just going for it. But the joy and the spark of life that comes out of him throughout the entire, piece is, as I keep saying, it's very uplifting, it's very inspiring. As a filmmaker yourself, and as somebody who isn't necessarily always doing documentary shorts, you're doing more fiction.
yeah.
How has doing this piece, or just stepping into the documentary world, changed maybe how you approach your other style of filmmaking?
I don't know, like no, like you said, like just watching it 30 minutes ago and just having this conversation, like it's a mirror, like it almost feels like a therapy right now, right? For myself. Um, Actually, I finished the movie, the documentary when I was locked up in the pandemic. Like those 10 weeks that I was locked up in Madrid before I actually came back to Mexico, like starting over and all that stuff. Like I had shot the documentary like months before, but it was in the pandemic when I actually completed it, right? And yeah, yeah, it's hard because I can see myself at that moment, right? When you're basically seeing that all your life is like really like just like breaking away, and maybe like a little subconsciously, like a little hope was actually like injected in the piece, which always was gonna end up with him dancing. Like that was something that we had always planned for. But yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, because it was shot in a very hopeful moment in my life, and it was completed in the worst moment of my life. So yeah, like how has that changed my perception? Like many people, like after the pandemic, like our lives kind of like went roller coastery. I'm very into inspirational stories. Like right now, I've been working in my first feature film. It's been a process. I'm in the development stage, advanced development. Like it's something that hopefully, like soon it'll start take more shape into completion. Well, into creating, sorry. And it's all about second chances, right? It's all about, um, yeah, you can't change what you did or how you were, but as of today, you can evolve into the person that you want to be, if you really put your effort into it. And yeah, I just saw it's kind of that, like I'm watching it, and that's why I said it before, the whole like psychomagic, therapeutic, shaman, whatever, because it was an experience, and the moment we completed it, for me, for my roommate, which helped me, and for him, yeah, of course, it was like, okay, something magical happened, but it was so hardcore that I didn't edit it until like months later, because I usually, when I did something, it was like, I start editing, right? I had to take my time, right? To watch it and to see with all this footage, like what would be the best way to piece it. And the moment that it got pieced together, I think in a way it kind of aided into making it what it is. Yeah, but yeah, it surprised me. Like right now that I watched it, it was like, okay,
And
hope we can be like
that
that. Huh?
I'm assuming that the reception has been really good for it.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Like it ended its festival rounds like, yeah, like a year and a half ago. I was actually surprised, that I don't remember how it got to your guys' festival, And when I received, the email, I was like really like, oh wow, nice, And I believe everything happens for a reason, and this piece haven't been shown around for like a year and a half, 2 years, and all of a sudden, like coming to your festival and us having this conversation, and with the moment that I am right now as a filmmaker, as a person, yeah, man, it's impactful. And yes, with its festival round, like I'm seeing right now the the CV, but yeah, it got like 4 awards in Brazil, one in the UK. Like, yeah, it got shown around in like a lot of countries and like very interesting countries. Yeah.
I feel like it's one of those pieces that gains steam as it's out there, and I think
Yeah.
that it's still to this. I mean, you say that it finished the festival like the first kind of festival circuit a year and a half ago, but
Yeah.
here it is again, and I
Yeah.
do think that it's the more people hear it, the more people
Yeah.
see it, the more people talk about it, the
Yeah.
more it
Yeah.
kind of picks up steam, because I think that, as I said, it's very compelling to watch. And I mean, I don't know, I haven't watched a ton of documentary shorts, a lot of maybe fiction shorts, but when
Mhm.
you go into that, a lot of the times there's maybe a preconceived notion about what it's going to be like.
Yeah.
And when you
Yeah.
watch this, I had to go back a second time. And I probably will go back a third time, because when writing about it, when talking about it, this is one of those pieces you want to do justice to. You
Yeah.
really want to explain it to people in a way so that they themselves will take the time to go see it, because it's so impactful.
Yeah.
But I think that that's the kind of piece that it is. It's going to continue to kind of really gain
That's,
theme, and it has a lot of legs to it. There's a lot of people who probably have yet to see this who really would want to. So that is my hope that it
I'm
keeps going.
I'm very grateful, like for the opportunity to have this conversation. Like I really haven't had any conversation also about it, like it's been around, but there hasn't really been a conversation, So for
Yeah.
me, like having the opportunity to have this conversation with you after all those years, right? And also the opportunity to be shown and presented, again, it's fantastic. Thank you very much. Yeah.
I truly believe that it's one of those things where I know for myself, I like to show people things that are impactful to me. I like to introduce them to it. So I feel like that's kind of happening out there with in a lot of places where people will see something like this and kind of go like, "Did you check that out? You need to go check this out. You need to go watch
One
this short."
one little seat that I want to remark, which is something that for me was very important, and I think that is also something that actually like puts this piece, like a little separate from the, let's say, like normal short documentaries, and it's the score, the music, right? Which for me right now that I saw it again, it's fantastic. Like I've always been like in every single one of my short films, and of course, like knock on wood on the feature, I've always been about how important, like the score is, right? And I'm still like, I'm 38 right now, and I remember when I was, like when I was 15, like the 90s, right? And you got to see like all these movies that you remembered the melody and you went to the store to buy the CD, right? And it's something that uh, I don't see it that often anymore. Like there's amazing scores, but it's very generic, let's say. And when this short film, like even being a short film, like I had a lot of conversations with the amazing, so, like music artists that made the score. And for me, it was all about how can we have a theme, right? That as the layers, or the stages of the conversation, right, keep happening, it gets like more audacious, right, and more epic. So, and of course, like it ends up with this like, almost like Gregorian, right, like singing, right, when he's like saying like the most hardcore stuff about himself. So, yeah, for me, the choices, right, because like you, I haven't seen much short documentaries. Like I do watch documentaries. I love to watch documentaries, but there's almost never like music, right? Or maybe it's like just like little music, like, oh, you want to be sad? Tin 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 tin. Oh, you want to be, scared? Dun 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 dun, right? But to place how you would use the music in a fiction piece, right? But in a reality piece with a real guy, I think that's also something that helps to enhance, the experience of
And
watching
it
it.
matches him quite well. It
Yeah.
really, really does. Almost to the point where you would think that he chose it himself, the
Uh,
music, because it just wraps around him and everything that he's talking about.
yeah.
Scores are, and I guess most people maybe don't think about scores traditionally with documentaries, but you're right. There is something powerful that happens when you have a great score that can
Yeah.
help translate, sonically what's
Yeah.
happening and what's being, on the film on the screen, and what's being talked about. When it helps it that way, there's a real
Yeah.
good, like a real incredible transformative energy that happens when
Yeah.
you have a great score, which this
Yeah.
does. But like it's one of those things that it's part of. It's like another character itself.
Yeah. 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 No, no, yeah. Totally. Totally.
So you've got this is coming around again, and you're working on the first kind of feature film. Is there anything else that's coming out, or anything else that you're working on in the meantime, that in between
Oh,
all of this?
I've been like fully submerged in the feature since the pandemic hit. You know, like I said, I was in Spain, and I everything like crumbled, and it like literally like I like to say it puked me back to Mexico. So it's been like all these years, it's been this process, like hardcore process of trying to make this movie happen while doing a lot of self work also in the process. And yeah, like right now, my full attention is on trying to make it happen. You know, like it's had 18 draft iterations, like two deaths, because I actually, like a year ago, I actually started filming some stuff, like got a hold of some like private money to try to do like little scenes to hopefully have a teaser and make it, you know, like happen. And it just went to hell, you know, like I said, having a movie that didn't happen was for me my best film school. You know, like I've been to a lot of film schools. I went to the Vancouver Film School. I went to the New York Film Academy, right? For having Moma Libre, it's the name of the movie, right? Like the movie, my own um like the like I don't know if you remember the Lost in La Mancha Terry Gilliam
Yes.
documentary about a movie that was not made, right? Well, having my little Lost in La Mancha, you know, it it really gave me a lot of knowledge and strength, um, film wise and emotionally wise. And right now, I'm just like literally like in this next stage of making it happen. The script is written. I'm having conversations with some producers to, you know, like get involved in the movie. I'm having conversations with actors, with crew people, and hopefully at the beginning of next year, we'll be able to start just applying the project to all the film funds that Mexico has and abroad, you know, and hopefully I'll and that's gonna happen like sooner than that. But I also like in this whole like process, I've been out of social media, you know, like
That's not
and
necessarily always a bad thing.
yeah, it's been like 4 years with those social media, but just now, you know, like with all this like great stuff, you know, like about how the film is doing, how I'm doing, you know, whatever. I'm hopefully like I'll return, you know, like before the year ends. Of course, I'll add you guys, and yeah, but that's my life right now.
Well, it sounds like it's pretty productive, and it sounds like it's going a lot of good places. So I'm excited to kind of see everything that kind of comes next. And I need more people to see this documentary. So I know myself, I'm going to be out there dropping it to people and letting people
Nice.
know to kind of go and check it out. Again, it's not a huge investment in time. And I think that when you have a snapshot of such a powerful story,
Mhm.
it's really worth it to ourselves to invest a little bit in our time to hear how somebody else is taking things on. And the whole
Yeah.
thing is handled beautifully. So congratulations on the success of it.
Thank you. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. And yeah, let's again, it has legs again. So just keep on showing it, you know, and hope people enjoy it and learn, you know, from this amazing story and this amazing guy, right? Which is Juan Carlos.
Well, and hopefully we see more of Juan Carlos, because I think he's really charismatic, and I think he is somebody who needs to be on screen a little bit more, because I think he's got so
Yeah.
much to offer. So
I'll send you the link of the music video. You know that was like the last like this the before thing was this, but the last thing I'll send you the link. But yeah, like he's amazing. Yeah, and actually like yeah, I'm gonna call him. You know, like once we finish this conversation, right? Because I just got a lot of nostalgia and also strength. because yeah, like sometimes um when somebody is going through a rough patch, um we tend to just like lock ourselves like in our own bubble. But I think seeing, like stories of other people, whether it's in books or in pieces, like that's why I love watching documentaries, right? Like the documentaries that I love seeing is the uplifting, like stories, right? Of somebody that went down and then went up again. And yeah, I think, even though there's no what's next, told in the Yo Soy piece, like you said, like you do get a sense of, I don't know what's next, and it kind of end up in a hardcore note, but seeing him how he is, he's gonna be okay, right?
I truly believe that. I think he is someone who everybody loves the underdog, and I think that he's someone who could be looked at as an underdog, but
Yeah.
really he is got so much energy and so much life that I can't imagine anybody not wanting to be around him.
Yeah, 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 totally, totally, totally,
Well,
totally.
thank you so much, Jaime, for joining me and for talking about this. And as I said, I'm really excited about what comes next, and I'm going to be watching and I'm going to be following along to see when that feature film comes out, because then we're going to have to jump on
Great.
it again.
Great, great, great. Well, thank you very much. Thank you for this amazing conversation, this therapeutical conversation. And yeah, yeah, let's be in touch, man.